also just want to acknowledge and honor all of the ancestors who made their way so that we are here today and making our way for the generations to come. I am very excited about our time together today. It's always a rough one for me to decide, do we talk about goals first or do we talk about budgeting first? So we decided this time around that we're going to talk about budgeting first. And one of the reasons for that is that often starting where we are, kind of knowing what's going on with us, where we're spending our money, where we're aligning with the things that matter most. Sometimes starting there is really the helpful thing to do. Other times, setting the future vision and starting there is most useful. So everybody gets to really do it the way that they choose. This time we started with budgeting when we were together 2 weeks ago. Today we're going to really nail down the goals and then tie those two things together. So many of you had a lot of questions last time we were together. And Nina, I'm not sure if you still have the chat from that time, but if you can pull those questions just so that towards the end of the conversation, we can maybe fold some of those in, that would be really helpful. I forgot to open it before I started sharing my screen. Yes. That would be great because I want to make sure that people know that we are carrying the thread through and we'll be able to answer some of those questions. So today we're going to talk about setting short, medium, and long-term goals. So the reason that I'd like for you to think about it this way is that often, particularly in times of struggle or times when we're under a particular stressor like a global pandemic or something like that, we can focus on the near term and kind of forget about or feel like we can't save or prepare for our longer term goals. So, and what this looked like for me was that because I'm self-employed and I'm trying to hold on to as much of my money as I can right now, I was trying to choose between throttling back my retirement savings or continuing to save at the same level. The thing for me that made it a little bit easier is that because of the way that I put my money away, I'm at an age where even if I needed to get the money, I can without penalty. So there's a couple things that I want you all to think about as you're looking at what you see there in the second bullet, the competing priorities. What happens when you have some immediate, short, medium, and long-term goals? And then what do you do when that happens? So that's what we're going to do tonight. And we're going to look at how do we prioritize them? And then how do we then, and this is where we're going to pull that budgeting stuff back in, right? How do we bring in what we care most about with the behaviors that we have? So that's what we're going to be doing. Before we start, we're going to check out a brief video.
For those that don't know, Michael Jr.'s break time is exactly that. In the middle of my stand-up comedy, I stop doing it, sit down, and just kick it with the people. Check it out. Just some random dude, I don't even know who he is. We just start kicking it, and look what happens.
Let me talk to the brother right there. Yeah. What's your name, bro?
Daryl.
I'm gonna need you to slow down with all that, bro. For real, you scaring the white people. You can't do that, Daryl.
I'm sorry, bro.
You scaring me too, though. Wow. Well, what do you do for a living, Daryl?
I work at Oak Ridge Military Academy. I'm the music director there.
Musical director at Oak Ridge Musical Academy. Okay.
Yeah.
But you got a deep voice, man. I would not want to get you mad. Jonathan, come here. You're like, oh, snap. 9 Jonathans show up. It's amazing, dude. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Let me hear. We didn't plan this, just so y'all know. We didn't plan this at all. I'm just randomly talking. Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
That bro could sing, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Now, once you give me the version, is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now, right now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Now, that's what I'm saying. Oh, goodness gracious.
There you go. Ridiculous. Dude is just sitting in the audience with all of this skill, all this talent that I don't even know about. Wonder if you got some skills and some talents that folks don't know about that you kind of holding on to. Boom. There you go. Couple things I need you to do, like for real. Think you just gonna laugh and I don't want you to do nothing? That's not how, this is give and take. It's not take and take. I need you to subscribe. Don't just be watching the video just to watch the video.
So what do you think? What do you think was the point? Why did I show that video? You can talk or you can type. Yep, Hector, hidden talents, be bold. What else? Reframing, nice, Linda. Yeah, Gina. And here's the thing. When he asked him to sing the song first, the guy knew what to do. He knew what to do. That's what he does. He knows what to do. When he asked him to make it personal, thank you, Ginger. When he asked him to make it personal, he was touching his why he does what he does. And so when we look at ourselves today and we look at what we're going to do about our goals, I know that a lot of you already know what to do. You know how to set a goal. You might even know what to do to achieve the goal. And what I'm asking you to do in our time together today is go deeper. And my philosophy is that if you know your why, you can find the will to do things, even hard things, and then the way will become clearer. And so I'd like for you to just use that lens as we're going into the conversation today. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I actually just saw this for the first time today and was just blown away. And at the end, the comedian here, he talks about this, about clarity. And so many of us who are in this, in the motivational speaking area, we talk about understanding the why, but it's very seldom that you can see it so clearly. You could see it in his face, you could hear it in his voice. All of that was present once he tapped into how would you sing this song if you were tapping into the things that really matter to you. So here we go. This is how we begin. The first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is now if you don't already have something to write with, it's fine if you type, however it is that works best for you, but have some type of instrument to track. Because as the comedian said, this is a give and take. You all are going to work as hard as I do. So what I'd like for you to do is identify the things that you see for your future self. So I'd like for you to pick a point in time, and I'm going to walk you through the process. So don't worry about the details yet. Just right now, Pick a point in time. And go ahead and type for me. It can be 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, whatever it is. Go ahead and type. What is the time frame that you're picking for yourself? Let's see, 5, okay, 6 months, Gina, fine. Whatever that time frame is. Nice, okay. Karen, pick one, 3 to 4, I want you to pick one. All right, yeah, be as specific as you can. Pick the time frame that you're going to focus on. And as you're doing that, I'd like you to sit in a way that is comfortable for you. You know, maybe feeling your feet on the floor and just noticing your breath. And as we kind of come into recognizing the in and out of the breath and being present in this moment, I'm going to ask you to put yourself meeting your future self. Think of you as meeting your future self. So Lindsay, you 2 years from now. Dr. Sev, you 3 years from now. Virginia, you 2 years from now. Putting yourself in a lovely cafe with your beverage of choice. And you are at the point in time that you have chosen. And you're sitting there and you're a little apprehensive, a little bit nervous, and still excited to meet your future self. And you hear the little tingle of the bell over the door in the shop you're in, and you look over and you see your future self coming toward you. And you smile, and your future self smiles. What is the first thing that your future self says to you? Take a moment to write it down for yourself. You can share it if you want. If not, that's fine. What does your future self say to you? Give me a thumbs up or something to let me know that you're ready to move on. What does your future self say? What is your future self most proud of about you? What is your future self most proud of about you? What do you ask her, or however you identify, however they identify? What do you ask them? Write this down for yourself. What do you ask them? What do they ask you to do for them? What do they ask you to do for them? Be as specific as you can. What does your future self want from you? What promise do you make to your future self? Get as specific as you can. What promise do you make? So once you've made your promise, give your future self a big loving hug and a big smile and maybe a giggle. And as they go on their way, let's take a deep breath and come on back to where we are today. And when we look at this Venn diagram, these two circles, you'll see there's the circle on the right. And that's where do we want to end up? Where are we trying to get to? So when you think about your life, this can be something specific to finances. It can be any aspect of your life. Where do you want to be in the time frame that you decided? And we'll get more specific, but just right now, just what should that period of time look like for you? What are you doing? Who's there with you? What is the sense of your being? What's happening for you at that point in time? Really get a clear picture and make those images as clear for you as possible. And so as we kind of pull the lens back, so looking at the side on the left, what's going on now? Where are you now? What is your sense of being right now as it's related to where you want to be? So my example is that I know that my future self, 5 years from now, I want to be working half-time for real, for real. I don't mean saying half-time and working double time. I mean for real half-time. And so for me, that means working no more than 2 weeks out of the month. That's what future Saundra wants. Where Saundra now is, I'm working about 3 weeks, 3.5. That's what's happening for me now. So if we were to look at the gap between where Saundra is now and where Saundra wants to be, what are some of the things that I might have to think about? And then by extension, when you look at your future self and where you are now, that shaded area where there's that overlap, that's the gap we're trying to fill, right? The future self, all of the things we see, we want to do. all of the things that we are now. And then this section, where's the gap? So the gap for me is going to be how much money I save, for sure. It's going to be boundaries that I set, right? Am I spelling it right? It's going to be boundaries that I set around my time and how I take care of myself. It's going to be my health and my fitness, because I'm not doing that great of a job at that right now. And it's going to be putting my time in the ways that serve me best, that I'm still accomplishing what I have to for the things over here, but I have an eye toward where I want to end up. So in here, I might have to work a little more. I might have to strategize a bit more. I might have to, not might, I will have to look at the succession plan more deeply and clearer in order to get where I want to go. Is that making sense? Am I making sense at all, y'all? Let me know you're with me. Say something, type something. Where are you on this idea? What do you think about this? And so for you, if you were to draw these circles, what is that future self going to look like? What's happening now? And how are you going to bridge that gap? So I'm going to pause for a moment and let you ask any questions that you have, share any ideas or thoughts you have about this, and tie up, please, before we leave this section, please tie off this part for yourself. So what you want for future you is clear to you. So talk to me. What's going on? What do we think about this idea? Yeah, Jay, now, so here's the question. What is it about being a grandma that's important to you? Anyone else? Yeah, Gina, the bridging the gap, but that's what we're going to talk about. Yes, Susanna, the future, all of the things that you want, that you described, that you saw in that coffee shop, looking at your future self, where you are now, and then the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So that's where that overlap is. Yeah, Vivian. So the thing about this, the thing about wondering about that, that's what we're getting ready to do next, right? We're going to look at how does this make sense for us, right? How do we begin to think about these things? Cynthia, yeah, living abroad. So here's the thing. I'd like for you to notice the difference between the thoughts and the feelings, right? And so the feelings can, that emotional part, sometimes it looks like fear, sometimes it looks like anxiety, sometimes it looks like hopelessness. What are some of the things that it looks like for you when it feels too big? What are the feelings that you're noticing? Because if you dig a little more deeply into that, you can then decide, what do you want to do about it? Yeah, so Jacqueline, promising your future self to eat more veggies, right? And so what's going to be important to you about that, to be healthy and active? What's important to you about being healthy and active? One of the things for me is that I really want to be able to play with my grandchildren's grandchildren. You know, I have pretty old grandchildren. My grandchildren are 20, 21, almost 22, 19, and then turning 13 next month. And so I want to, you know, my mom saw her great grandchildren, and I think even a great great. So those are the things that I care about. So when I'm talking to my future self, I want to have not only the health, but also the wealth to be able to do that and do that actively. So let's kind of, let's start to make this more concrete. Let's start to make it more concrete. Judah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. When we're thinking about that roadmap, right, or that diagram that has this future self, how do we start to set those goals? So let's take one thing. Let's everybody take one thing that is important to you about the future self. What is one aspect about that future self that you can write down as specific? And it can be immediate, like for me, an immediate. Okay, so let's say Saundra's going to start out with the long term. The long-term goal is I want to be 70 years old, working less than half time, no more than 20, you know, no more than 2 weeks out of the month, traveling, healthy enough to be able to enjoy the things that I care about, playing golf, taking hikes, hanging out with the grandkids. And I want to have the financial stability to be able to do that. So the long-term goal is that. The medium-term goals, what might be a medium-term goal? What can I do in 2 to 10 years if I know that I want to retire at about 10? What can I do? Go ahead and type. Feel free to plan my life. What can I do? And if you want to talk, just unmute yourself. You can talk to me or type. Yes. So I did. So the example that I used was the retirement, right? So my future self asked me to keep myself healthy and to be wealthy enough to be able to retire at 70. And that's my goal, to be wealthy enough to retire at 70, to be healthy enough to enjoy retirement. So that's what my future self wanted from me. So Saundra at 70 wants that from Saundra at 60. So that's how we're thinking about that. So if I want to retire at 70 with sufficient wealth and good health, what are some things I can do? So Carrie, I can hire to have the staff level to cover the work. Absolutely. I can have my financial plan. I can make sure that I've saved enough. I can start saving if I'm not. Increase my exercise, build exercise into the schedule. Absolutely. So you see where once we set the target for where we want to end up, the ideas for the things that we can do start to become clearer. And what else do you notice? What else do you notice? Thank you, Catherine. Those non-negotiable behaviors, right? What are you noticing? There's this, Saundra wants to retire. Saundra wants good health, right? What are you noticing as we start saying, okay, well, what can Saundra start to do now? What are you seeing about the types of recommendations that I'm getting here? Yes, Jacqueline.
Hi, Saundra.
Hi, sweetheart. What are you seeing here?
I have just a general observation that
Okay.
I've made as I'm thinking through this exercise, because I know that this series is all focused on, making your money, getting your finances straight and making your money work, for you. And none of my goals in terms of where I pictured myself, in the future, none of it is financial.
Right.
And so to me, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I identify short-term, mid-term, or even long-term goals when I clearly look at myself in the future, nothing in terms of what I wanted to hear from my future self. None of it surrounded or money. And I don't know I guess maybe the underlying root of that would be that maybe like my finances are so well taken care of that my future self didn't need to comment on it.
Maybe right off to future self, right? So are you willing to share one of your future self goals?
Well, it was just the first thing that came to mind was I just want to be healthy and active. And I'm
Okay.
surrounded by friends and family, right? But none of that has anything to do with finances,
Is
right?
that true?
So I don't know how that relates, because none of it was nothing that immediately came to mind in terms of goals or setting priorities was about finance.
Yeah. Do you want to play with this a little bit?
Okay.
Yeah. You sound a little hesitant.
I think I might have just set myself up, but I just, like none of it came in terms of
Yeah.
financial priority. Like nothing that intuitively came to mind was like,
So full disclosure, I
Yeah.
believe that people don't have financial goals. People have life goals that have financial implications,
Got it.
right? So when you see your future self surrounded by family and friends, and you're healthy and strong and living the life that you want, what are the things that have to be in place for that to happen?
Like I'm not worried about paying bills.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I'm not worried about where I live. I'm not worried about food on the table.
Yeah.
All of those
Any
other,
money involved in any of those things?
obviously, yes.
Right? So there is no aspect of our lives that money doesn't touch. And so we have to decide, are we going to integrate the money into the life? Or are we going to treat it as though it's this nebulous, hard to deal with, uncomfortable thing on the side? Right? And so some of the ways that it shows up for me is that I want to be healthy and strong, like Karen says here. I want to be healthy and strong and not stressing about those things. Now, there are things that I do right now that are not in alignment with what I say I want. If I don't feel like cooking, it is not beyond me to swing by Jack in the Box and get tacos. And I'm not even talking about good tacos. I'm not even talking about like tacos that you know what's actually in them, right? But let me tell you what happens. I have two moms, and they died, one in 2017 and one in 2019. When I'm feeling pain, when I was a little girl, my big mom, who died in 2017, we used to go to Jack in the Box after we left church in the middle of the night. It's the only thing that was open. It was just the two of us. They had 10 foster kids, and I was the only one that would go to church with her in Oakland. We lived in San Francisco. On the way home, she would go to Jack in the Box, and she and I would have tacos together. So whenever I'm having that Jack in the Box moment, it's not the tacos, right? I mean, they're comfort food, right? And so I have to know what's happening for me. And I have to decide, am I going to satisfy that in this moment? Or am I going to work out what Saundra in the future needs? And sometimes I choose either way. I'm not sitting here telling y'all that I don't swing on through, because sometimes I do. Sometimes my need to feel that comfort is greater than what Saundra at 70 is calling for me in that moment. Does that make sense? So when we're looking at uh, when we're looking at our long-term goals, or even when they're shorter term, it's so important. Just like the guy singing Amazing Grace, when it is important to you, when it's deep down in your soul, what's really going on? And then what are the things that you can do to hold that for yourself? Because we live in a financial system that is by definition oppressive for people who are not wealthy. Right? So think about it. If you go into a bank and you go to deposit $10,000, you're not going to pay fees. You're not going to pay fees on an account. You go into an account, you go into a bank to deposit $100. Guess what? Type for me. What then? I've only got $100 to deposit. What's going to happen to my $100? I'm likely going to be in an account that has a $3 a month, sometimes a $15 a month. I'm going to pay because I don't have any money. Make a lot of sense, right? Those who have less pay more. And that's the system that we're operating within. There was a time, I know some of y'all old enough to remember this, there was a time that credit card interest could be written off. So interest, yes, real talk. You could write off the interest that you paid on consumer debt. But guess what? That changed. So now we can no longer write it off. But what can be written off? Property taxes can be written off, right? Major things, if you can put your money in a deferred savings plan, deferred retirement plans, all of those things are tax benefits for people. And mostly people who have money are in the position to do those things. So there is a very high cost of being low income. And so when we're thinking about our lives and we're thinking about our goals, the reason that I wanted us to have this conversation is sometimes we are so busy just trying to make ends meet, we forget our dreams. And I want you to remember your dreams. I don't want you to give up on your dreams. Because it's only by us remembering this and making decisions to do what we can personally, and then require of our leadership to do something about this system. And people will say, oh, the system's broken. The system's not broken. The system is doing what it was designed to do. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do on the backs of those of us who don't have a lot. And so we have to decide if we're going to allow other people to take our dreams. And if you found it hard to dream for yourself, think of someone who you love dearly. What do you want for them? Vivian, that's absolutely real. Defend your dreams. And here's the thing, the lovely thing about the 83 folks on this call tonight is that we want to see each other's dreams. We want to see each other and see and be seen. We are not invisible. Our dreams are not invisible. Our dreams are not unimportant. And they don't have to be some huge grandiose thing. And if they is grandiose, go ahead with that too. But if they're not, if it is hanging out with friends and knowing that there's groceries and I don't have to worry, if that's it, that's good. No one else gets to choose for you. And you get to defend it. Because if not, what's the point? If you don't stand up for you, what is the point? And once we all build our momentum around our dreams, and then we start to look outside of our own individual behavior, because that's really all we're talking about right now. We're talking about our individual behavior. And then we can begin to look at things like, wow, my state is talking about universal basic income. I'm going to write a letter to my governor about that. Wow, I'm seeing a group talking about a living wage. I'm going to write to somebody about that. I'm going to talk to somebody about that. I'm going to go to my employer and say, hey, I don't know if you all are hearing all of this madness about people can't find folks to come back to work. Well, yeah, because employment's paying more. If unemployment is paying more than your job, you're the problem. If the employer, and I'm an employer, I get it. I've got a lot to balance. But the fact is, people are suffering. Many people on this call are suffering. And so my hope is that you're hearing from me. There are things you will be able to do for yourself, and there will be things that you need some help to do. Don't be afraid to get help. Don't hide your need to get help. But the first thing is that I really want you to remember who you are. Even if you don't feel like your future self today, even if you don't feel like you've got it under control today, I want you to remember who you are. No one gets to take that. So when we look at that far out dream or that vision that we have, now some of you, it may be immediate. It doesn't have to be long term. So what we're getting ready to do now is we're going to go into breakouts. And while we're in the breakouts, what I'm going to ask you to do is talk in your group. Just blurt it out. Be seen. What is it? What's the dream? What is that goal that's out there for you? It can be somebody said, I have an emergency fund. Great. Say that. Whatever it is. So in your small groups, there's going to be about 10 of you. This doesn't have to be deep and profound. Just speak to it. Give voice to the things that matter to you. Give voice to the things that matter to you. Are y'all willing to do that? Give me a head nod. Give me a thumbs up. Give me something. All right, Nina, you ready? Spanish speakers, stay in this room. The rest of you, you might have to click on the thing that says join the room. Please join the room. If you stay in here, there's not going to be anything happening here other than the Spanish speakers are going to take that same conversation.
Thanks, Saundra. And does 10 minutes work? Does that sound about
10
right?
minutes is perfect. 10 minutes is perfect. So yeah, we'll come back at the top of the hour. So about 13 minutes.
All right, opening up the breakout rooms now.
Thank you. I'll see you all when you get back. It's okay, Carrie. If you're able to go to the breakout, do that. But don't worry if you can't. That's okay. Pia. Hello, Missouri.
Hi there.
Hi. All right, I see this folks coming back into the room.
Yep, I think we're all back.
Lovely. All right, so let's hear it. How did that go? How did that go? Tell me what you heard. Tell me what you learned. How did it feel to see each other and be seen about where we are headed in our lives? Talk to me. Lovely. Lovely, Hector. Thank you. What else? I see supported. What else happened? Nice, Catherine. Anyone else? Yeah. Isn't that funny, Jay, that when we get together, there's so many of us that, and I think that that's particularly important when we think that our goals might feel out of reach or unreasonable. I often, when I'm coaching folks, one of the things that I hear often is, some unworthiness, right? People feeling like, oh, I can't, maybe my goals are too big, or maybe I'm not able to achieve them. And, often people will start to say the reasons why they can't get it before they even really clarify it for themselves. So before we get into our action plan, we've got 30 minutes left together, and we're going to walk away with an action plan. So before we do that, I want to just kind of dig a little deeper into some of the comments that I have here. Now, listen, if I ask you to talk about a comment that you made and you don't want to, you can just say, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Don't feel forced. Don't feel like you have to talk about something if you don't want to. Gina, I noticed that you said working on letting go of the things that no longer serve you. If you were to make that more specific, what would you do with that? What could you do with that idea? And you can talk
Okay.
or type.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can.
So actually is one of the things we talked about in the breakout session that I have a plan, a move coming soon, and I just I'm hoarding all these books. I'm holding on to all these old things that I no longer need, but for some reason I just want to hold them and keep them close. But in reality, I know it's just better if I can just get rid of it, maybe make a few bucks of it, or just not even have it around and seeing it like that stuff there every time I look at it. Oh, there's that, pile of books that I, don't even really look at, but I really want them because I feel like they're going to make me better or improve my life somehow in the future, even though I haven't looked at them for a year or whatever.
Yeah. Can we play with this a little?
Sure.
So when you look at the pile of books, what happens for you?
I feel like overwhelmed that I have so many. I don't think I can read them all. And they're mostly like self-help books or cookbooks. I don't even use all the cookbooks, but I
Okay.
want to use these. I want them to help me, change.
Yeah. So what kind of agreement can you make with yourself about these things that you have ambivalence about letting go and keeping?
I believe that one of the things I can do is to say, hey, actually, I already started doing it, is that I don't need all of this. There's free books at the library. There's audiobooks I can have, so I don't have a physical book in my house. And there's also, if I haven't looked at it for a while, somebody else might need it and use it and do something with it. That's the purpose of a book, to actually read it.
Yeah. So if you were to do that, what would it feel like for you?
I feel like I will have a cleaner space. I will have less to move. I will have I would just feel like I would be lighter. Like I have, and if there's so many other ways to get resources, like some, audiobooks or there's the internet now. You can just search stuff online
Yeah.
instead of having a book.
Yeah. So if we were to make this smart, you see the screen there?
Mm-hmm.
What would the goal be? What is it exactly that you want to accomplish?
I would want to get rid of the books that I am not using or feel sentimentally attached to.
Yeah.
And I would want to just take only the ones that I feel will serve a purpose and that I will use.
Okay. So how will you know that you've achieved that goal? How are we going to measure that?
I think I would know by taking a look at how I feel about the book,
Mhm.
and not having a enormous amount, because I really do have a lot of books.
Yeah, yeah. So what does enormous mean?
Oh gosh, it's just like I would say, like, to me it's enormous. I don't know. Maybe it's like a a whole full bookshelf. There's, or maybe even two full bookshelves of books, like big bookshelves.
Yeah.
And if I can just take that into maybe a couple bankers boxes, that might be better.
Okay. So
And Leslie, I
I hear
have done the
maybe,
KonMari thing.
I hear maybe, and I hear might be. What's going to make this measurable for you?
I guess I would say I would be happy with just having maybe one small bookshelf that I'm going to use.
Okay. Okay. Do you have what you need? Is this attainable for you?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah.
do. I think emotionally I feel overwhelmed with the task, but I think it's like not realistic. Like, it's just like cookbooks. Like, why am I so
Okay.
attached to a cookbook?
Okay. Okay. And what's important to you about this? Let's find out what's relevant. What is important to you about this?
The important thing is, I can actually get rid of something, not have it in my face, nagging at me, and then using the select few things that I will appreciate, and actually get through a whole book. Like I have so many, I'll read like half of one and start another one and then never get through a whole book.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me tell you what I heard. That letting go of things that no longer serve you includes some of the things that you'll have to move if you don't make a decision about them. And what you want to do is deal with this big bookshelf full of books. It sounds like there may be even two bookshelves full of books. And there are many ways that you can access the same type of information, either with the actual books in another method or by doing some searches and getting free information in other places. And there are other people who may benefit from the books that you have and aren't giving them the attention that you would want to give them. And you'll know that you've achieved this goal when you have narrowed it down to one small bookshelf of things that you actually want to read. And you know that you have what you need to be able to do this. It's a step that you know that you can take. And once you've done this, you'll feel like you've got a manageable group of books that you'll actually read, and you have a mechanism to look at the things that maybe you've given up. And that what's important is that you also won't have to move all of this, and you won't be seeing it around you feeling like it's crowding you out. What did I miss?
Yes,
What did I miss?
that was it. 100%.
So if you were to set a date for when you want to get this done, what is the date? I understand there's a move coming. So I understand there's that. I'm asking, when do you want to get this done?
I want to say a week.
Okay. So is it a week from today?
Yes. Well, no, I would say a week from Friday.
Okay. So a week from Friday. So what do you have to do for yourself to offer some accountability?
I would have to tell somebody else in my family and make sure they like know. So if
Okay.
somebody else knows, they can hold me accountable.
Okay. Who should that be?
I would say my fiance.
Okay. All right. And so what are you going to say to him?
I would say, if I would tell him that I would, oh gosh, what am I going to say to him? I would tell him that I would need his help in, purging some books, and to have him help me like take him away, because I would probably want him to take him away or sell him or do whatever he's got to do to get him out of my sight. And that way it can just be done by Friday, and if not, then I have my own, he can also help me just select a bookshelf that we can use to know how many to keep.
Okay.
And that way we could kind of get that done by, next Friday, a week and a half, I guess.
And what will this do for you?
I think it will give me a little more, I guess, oomph to just do it instead of just thinking I'm going to do it.
Yeah. So thank you. We will look forward to hearing how this went when we're together 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I know.
So what did you all notice about you? I just kind of went through that SMART goals. What did you notice? And how can you take what you just saw us go through to what your goal is, or the step that you want to take? So Gina was bold. What can you take to get this into what your goal is? Talk to me. Y'all kind of quiet tonight. I'm not used to that. Yeah, so how can I buy a first home? How do we say, how do we find an advisor, invest money? Excellent, excellent, excellent. The accountability partner. Yeah, Virginia, that makes all the difference in the world. Think about times when maybe there's exercise or something that you want to do. And let me speak for myself. If I don't say, hey, I'm going to meet you up at Point Pinole for a walk, I may or may not make it to Point Pinole. Okay, so if it's just Saundra going on my own, I may or may not make it. And so having an accountability partner, someone that I know is counting on me to be there, really does change that, So I just want to point out the action plan of making a goal SMART is, what do you absolutely, what is exactly is it that you want to accomplish, and get as specific as you can. Notice the kind of questions that I asked Gina, right? What is it? How will you know? That's the measurable piece. How will you know that you've achieved it? Are there any milestones along the way? That's specifically important when we're talking about things that are longer term. So Jay, from the group, it sounds like someone wants to buy a home in California. So the goal of buying a home in California might be the specific goal, but you even want to get more specific. What neighborhood do you want to be in? What is the size and status of the house? How much do you want to pay for the house? Really get as clear of a picture of the house that you want as you possibly can. And then how do you make it measurable, right? That can be a lot of things. It can be, do you have enough money to save? Do you have access to things like first-time home buyer programs? Do you have access to programs that can help you prepare? And throughout the state of California, that's one of the things we're very fortunate to have, is that we've got financial empowerment centers, we've got HUD programs, HUD, Housing and Urban Development. They even have them online, so you can take the eHome course, so that you don't even have to go if you're still like me and not going around people, because I'm not going around people. You can still do those kinds of things and break it down in, like Judah is saying, these steps. And then the attainable piece. This is where we can sometimes get tripped up, because we can feel like it's not possible if we're looking at the whole thing, right? And everybody knows this. What's the best way to eat an elephant? Go ahead and type. I don't think y'all should be going around eating elephants, but that you've heard this before, right? What's the best way to eat an elephant? I'm going to wait. One bite at a time, right? And so that's how we go from, oh my God, this dream, this vision, this goal is too big, to what is a step that I can take? What can I do? What is possible here? And that's the switch that I'm asking you to flip. If you have been telling yourself your goal is not possible for whatever reason, start to look at, number one, is that true? Is it true that it's not possible? And then start to break down, what are some of the things that can make it possible? Maybe you've heard the quote, shoot for the moon. And even if you don't make it, at least you'll be amongst the stars, right? So that's the idea. right? When I first, I can't remember if I told you all this in November, but my partner and I, we bought this 2-bedroom condo. I hated this condo. I was renting it before I met him. And when I met him, you know, he's a guy that had little financial stability, by far more financially stable than I was. And I just knew he was going to whisk me off my feet, and we were going to buy a house that had the staircases, you know, the staircases that go up each side and meet up at the top. And I wanted a cupola, and I wanted a granite kitchen, knowing that I don't cook. All of those things. I wanted all the things, all the things. And it was in 2001, the housing market was just insane. And we looked and we looked and we looked, and we didn't want to pay the prices for the things that we saw. And here's the thing, we could afford it back then. We both were making good money, but we didn't want to pay the amount that people were asking for the houses. We didn't find what we wanted. So he said, oh, let's just buy this condo. What prompted the move was that the people who owned it, I was renting, the people who owned it were selling. I was like, I didn't hook up with you to end up living in the same place I was living. I didn't want this house. I didn't want this house. I want you to get me another house. And I'll tell you, it was the smartest decision we ever could have made. After that, within a very short time, I was suffering in I had a previous company. I was suffering. I was literally making myself sick. I had 2 ulcers. I was working so much, and I wanted to quit. Had we bought one of those other houses, there's no way I would have been able to quit. Had we done something different than what we did, there's no way I would have been able to say, hey, I'm done with this. I went back to school, took out student loans, used a HELOC, a home equity line of credit from the house, to get myself through school, and got my master's degree in financial planning. My life changed completely. I learned about money because I didn't know before. I didn't learn anything until I was 44. And so even though it felt out of reach, there were things we could do and steps we could take. So even if it's not obvious to you, don't give up on your dream until you absolutely defend it with everything possible. Everything possible. And then what is important to you about it? So even though it might sound like, well, yeah, Gina's books, it's not a big deal. The books mean something to Gina. So if I just say, well, it's easy, get rid of the book. If it don't spark joy, get rid of it. But it's deeper than that. Those books mean something to her. Those books mean self-improvement. They mean growth, right? But they also mean someone else can benefit. So did you hear her make that exchange in her mind and in her values? This is important to me. Self-development is important to me, and someone else can benefit. I can get what I need some other way, and someone else can benefit. So there she was exchanging her values, right? And so we have to understand, whether it's a financial decision or some other type of personal decision that you have to make, your values, the thing that matters, your why, thinking back to the Amazing Grace song at the beginning, right? Those things, those are the things that drive us when stuff is hard. So that's why these steps are so important. I don't want you all to think of this as, oh, this is just some steps Saundra has us going through. The reason that we're taking the time here is because if you can get really, really clear and you can recite back your goal the way you heard me recite back Gina's, you will be by far more likely to achieve it. Because you can write it on a little index card, put it on your refrigerator or your mirror or wherever it is that stays top of mind for you, and you will be more likely to achieve it. So that relevance is crucial. It's crucial. And then setting a target date. There may be multiple dates if your goal is long-term. So if savings is your SMART goal, right? Whatever it is, emergency fund, buying, trying to buy a house, any of those things, make sure that your SMART goal answers the 3 W's. What do I want to do? Why is it important to me? And then get to the bottom line. When will I do it? If you say, I have this goal, there's this thing I want to do, a financial goal without a dollar amount and a date is just a dream. And so if you say, I want to save more money, I want to have an emergency fund, get clear, go back. I'm pretty sure this is in the toolkit. Go back to this and make sure that you're making it as specific as you can. Now, here's the thing. Talk to me. What do you need? What has to happen? I want to say, so Jay, to the things that you said, how to invest savings wisely. I'm going to tell you all, I think I've told you this before, but my very favorite approach to investing is transparentinvesting.com. Patrick Geddes is one of my favorite people. He's a CPA. He's a former muckety muck at Morningstar, where they rate investments and mutual funds and those sort of things. And he wrote a 10-step document for people to invest that makes sense. It is low cost because he's using ETFs or exchange traded funds. And it takes the worry out of investing. And that's really what I'm hoping for you all, that you're investing in a way that is not only satisfying for you, but you don't feel the craziness of what we see in the market, right? How do we invest money and donate to organizations to make an impact? Again, that's back to the why. When you think about the organizations that matter to you, what is important to you about them? Let me tell you, my organization's a small nonprofit. We are always strapped for cash, right? We are small. And we don't get any operations money. Nobody writes us a check to operate. Everybody that pays us is paying us fee for service, right? So I was talking to someone today who wanted to pay me for a specific job to do. And I said, look, rather than pay me, would you consider doing a matching donation to the organization where you decide how much you're going to donate and then other people can match it, right? So that she said, like, she'll do $5,000. If I can raise $5,000 in July, she'll match it. So think about how, not only who you want to donate to, but how do you want to donate, right? Do you want it to be a partnership with the organization that you decide? When you say to make an impact, what does it mean to make an impact? What kind of impact do you want to make? And then think about it. It doesn't have to be huge amounts, and it also doesn't have to be during your lifetime. Some people donate to charitable organizations with life insurance policies after they're gone. So don't think that there's only one way to do the things that you want to do. We'll talk about some of this stuff in the asset building and asset protection stages, but I just want you to know that when it comes to your financial life, there are all kinds of ways to get your goals met, all kinds of ways to do the things that matter to you. The questions that I have that y'all have not answered yet: what do you need to reach your goals? What has to happen for you? Is it time? Is it money? Is it resources? What is it that you need? And how do we make the first step in you finding them? Type or talk. Okay, time. So when you think of time and what it means for you, what has to happen? What can you do to create the time? Anyone else? Prioritizing. Okay, Susanna, what would be the first step? How can you do that? Janelle, yeah, maybe it may mean letting go of some other things. I was telling my partner today, I used to make jewelry. I would make beads. I've got a ton of, y'all don't even want to know how many beads I have here. And then I decided to start to knit. So now I knit. I got beads and I knit. And now I'm a gardener. So I bead, knit, and garden. And now I have a Nintendo Switch because I like to play Animal Crossing with my grandson. So now I got beading, knitting, gardening, and the Switch. I have to prioritize. And Jaylene, that's exactly right. I have to turn off the TV. And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Excellent, Judah. I like that, taking the staycation. So when you're setting your goals, when you're doing this, I'd like for you to remember these things. Be specific, realistic, and flexible. The realistic isn't, am I dreaming too big? The realistic is, my dream is so big, I've got to give myself milestones along the way. I want that house. I want that retirement. I want to travel the world, whatever that is. I want my kids to go to college. I want to go to college, whatever it is. Build your realisticness into it, even if it feels big for you. And then be flexible. You know, I had no idea that I was going to change careers at 44. No idea. But being flexible allowed me to say, hey, I'm no longer satisfied with what I'm doing. I don't know what else I want to do. I got to start from scratch. And so I did. So, and then once you've decided, be specific, state it as a positive declaration. The reason we talk to your future self was so your future self, go ahead and type for me. What did your future self say that they were most proud of? Right? And you want to say it. I am retired at 70. I am hanging out, Jacqueline, I'm hanging out with my friends and relaxed at 70. My bills are paid. I'm comfortable. My life is going the way that I want it to go. Right? Develop several goals and then prioritize them. You may find that you have to pull the levers on the goals, right? Sometimes you have more energy towards one than another. It's like me and my hobbies. Sometimes I knit, sometimes I garden, right? Same thing here. How do you want to prioritize? How do you want to prioritize? If they are multiple and competing, I want to retire and I want to travel the world, which is the case for me. I set aside money for both of those things. I do have to say, as I've gotten closer to 70, I do tend to put more towards retirement than travel. So, and here's the thing, if you're already struggling with not having enough, so if you find that the thing that is the barrier is that you don't have enough to save for your goals, please, 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 if you're not already, make sure that you are taking advantage of every benefit that is available to you, right? And I think somebody said something earlier about not wanting to owe someone something. Let me see. Oh goodness, where was that? To have someone do so, get past asking for help. So Vivian, that's exactly the point. You get to set boundaries. I come from a family where, kind of somebody did something for you, you kind of owe somebody. And I kind of feel that way myself. And so I just get really clear about the boundaries. But this is the place to challenge yourself, right? Where can you trust? Who can you trust? Establish some timeframes and then write them down. Please, please, please write your goals down. You'll be amazed at just what that simple exercise can do. So we've got some minutes for questions. Talk to me. What are the things that you will remember from our time together? What are the things that you're already doing really, really well? And then what are the areas that you might want to try on something new? So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I got to eat out less. I battle with this all the time. I might do well for a month or two, and then I just fall right off the wagon because I'm really tired of cooking. I am so tired of being the COVID cook. I don't know what to do. And so I've got to figure something else out. I don't have a plan. How do we learn more about the resources? So the first thing I would say is community-based organizations that are linked to those public services. So depending on where you are, financial empowerment centers, those folks are going to know, right? They're going to know. They're going to know how to help you apply for benefits. They're going to know how to, Brunch and Budget, Pamela and Dialect are very good. Lovely people. Also, I think I've told you this before, but if not, let me say it again. AFCPE has coaches and counselors who are offering services for free right now, free financial counseling and coaching. If you ask for an FFC, you will get the folks who I have trained. I think we have the recording, right, Jay? They'll have access to the recording. Yeah.
Today's recording, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there are places to get the help that you need. I'm going to hang here and answer any questions. Yeah, Judah, please do that. Please do that. Give yourself the benefit of remembering your goal every single day, right? Remember it every day. And that may help with prioritizing and may help with putting yourself first, doing something for you every single day. I so often hear, particularly women say, well, yeah, I don't have time for this. Things like, I don't have time to take a walk, or I don't have time, you know, to just kind of chill and all that. If you don't make time for you, no one is going to say, hey, let me clear some space in your life so you can relax. We've got to do it for ourselves. Got to do it for ourselves. Go back to the second to last. Is that this one, honey? Ella, is that it? Okay. All right, gang, we are at time. Thank you all so very much. Nina, how do you want to wrap? Thank you, Gina. We look forward to hear those affirmations. Thanks, Doc. It's good to see you here.
Well, Saundra, thank you again for your wisdom and your guidance, as always. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to put a link to the survey in the chat, and we greatly appreciate if you could fill that out. I will follow up with a link to the recording and some of the links that were shared today in the chat. And as a reminder, our next session will be in 2 weeks on May 26th at 5 p.m. And that session will focus on asset building. And you can use the same link that you used today to log in 2 weeks from now. So thank you so much, Saundra.
Thank you. And that's the session. The asset building is where we'll be talking more about investments and savings and those kinds of things. And housing and houses. Thank you all. Thanks, Jay. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.